Feel like you have
Good
to
morning.
wait for
How
the
are you?
countdown before
Yeah, I know.
talking.
Who
I'm
are you?
doing
How do I know
good. How
you?
are you? I'm Jen Aintablian, and I am part of the Better Life Tribe. Been here since
Oh,
September and have loved
boy.
it.
Great.
It has been, yeah. And so, you had the open calendar, so why not just say hello and ask a few questions and get a couple of advice? So that's why I'm here.
Hey, that's why I do this. I'm glad you're here.
Awesome. Where are you located right now?
I live in a place called Maui, Hawaii. Ever heard of it?
Okay. One of those following the tribe. Yeah, that's cool. I'm in Portland, Oregon. Not as beautiful. We have not seen the sun in 45 days and I am struggling. But here we are.
Do not like.
Yeah, not at all. Well, cool. Well, I have a couple of goals for this call, but I would also just like to get to know you because it feels like I see your name always come up, and you're now one of those people. Like I would probably say hi to you in the airport, and you would be like, "Who are you?" So now that if
I
we
don't
do
know.
run into the airport, I would love for you to say hi back. So that's
I
part of the goal as well.
look, Jen. I've been famous for a long time. Okay, this is not new. This is not new to me.
it's,
I'm
it's
just
a
now
really
famous.
hard life, isn't it?
I'm just now famous in Brandon's world. That's new to him. That's not new to me. I have these calls so that I can fulfill any purpose or service that you might find useful. So whatever you want to talk about, ask, do anything I can do to be useful. Am here to serve.
Cool, awesome. Well, I would love to get your advice on building my social media presence and also just tips for building network in this space. So, I'm a humanitarian investor, and my goal is to have 250 affordable housing units by the end of the year. And so my idea is to launch. Okay, let's just pause for a second. I am a millennial and I am not a like social media person, which is a little bit contradictory. But I
Most
know
people
that
aren't.
I want to be, and I want it to help me not necessarily get money, but just to build credibility. And so my idea is to launch this humanitarian investor Instagram, TikTok, and just lean into the world. And
That's
so, first, I would love to know if you think that's catchy. And I think
sure.
being a humanitarian is cool, but I know that there's a lot of people who think cats are cool, and I don't care about that. So, like how do you get those? In Brandon's training, he talks about you just need 1,000 followers. You don't necessarily need the 100,000. And so, is that a catchy enough thing, or do I need something else?
I'm going to give you the same advice I give everybody, the advice that I wish I could take myself. It doesn't, none of that matters. Just post.
Okay. So,
I mean,
okay.
let me tell you the dumbest name, dumbest, non catchiest, stupidest, meaningless name for a company that I've ever heard Google.
It is true. I mean,
Stupid
until
name.
it's now something where everyone knows it.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. Exactly right. So, Amazon, what is it? What is Amazon? There's a set of people that will love what you post if you post, and then you can adapt as you go. But what you can't do is, even if I told you it was perfect, yeah, it's perfect. Humanitarian investor, I think it's great. There's a lot of people out there that would vibe with that. I think, I mean, on Twitter, they're always back and forth between the capitalists and the EI, EID, equity, inclusion, and diversity, the
Mhm.
hyper liberal agenda, yada yada, and they're always just going back and forth. And it's like 50-50. I mean, lots of people like both. So
Sure.
you can
Sure.
go to the top of the you can go to the top of the earth. You can go to the top of the population with humanitarian efforts. I mean, look at Mr. Beast, right? I mean, he's
Hmm.
done tremendous by with humanitarian type efforts. So uh,
Sure.
the UN. I mean, there's big organizations that are doing a lot of good with humanitarian, persona, humanitarian approach.
Yeah.
But the problem is not the name or the niche. The problem is your problem and my problem are identical. You don't post enough.
Yeah. Well, I haven't posted since 2018, so there's an issue right
Yep.
there. So I think, and it's interesting because I know I travel a lot for work, and so I have some really cool content. I've worked for the UN, I've worked for Doctors Without Borders. I've had some pretty big things, and I set up refugee camps. I do really cool stuff, and well, I think it's cool. And so my idea is to post that, especially like when I'm in the field. Like it's easy for me to do the selfie stuff, but then how I want this not to grow my humanitarian base. I want it to grow the affordable housing space. And right now, affordable housing is great. It just takes so long, and so it's not as invigorating of content. And so if that's my goal of launching this, I mean, humanitarians can get me some credibility, especially when I use my employers' names right now, because they are big organizations. But how can I get the credibility when I don't necessarily have the daily, weekly content for affordable housing?
Do you have a personality?
Oh, I hope so.
Then you have daily content.
But what would
I don't
what
know. I have the same problem. You got to turn the brain off and just post something, and then like people will ask you. I mean, I made all my money because I had a blog that, by all measurable counts, had no viewers. I didn't do any SEO. I didn't promote it. I just wrote on the internet, and people
Yeah,
found it, and
yeah,
they're like, "This is cool." And then I raised millions of dollars and bought millions of dollars of real estate from a blog.
huh,
I didn't. It wasn't targeted. It was just like, "Here's what I think. Here's what I'm doing."
yeah,
And then some days it
yeah,
was good, and some days it was boring. And
yeah,
I wish I could do that with video. It's definitely harder with video for me, and it sounds like for you.
yeah,
So I don't know, but I would
yeah.
not
Well,
go
I
on like a. I would not do a brand. I would just do like, hey, here's what Jen's working on. Here's what
yeah.
Jen's working on. Here's why, and here's how you can participate. Just do some form of that every day,
Okay.
and then you'll get. My fiance just did it. She's like, I'm gonna be a I'm gonna be a quilt influencer because she's in the quilt world. And so you're like, well, what? Okay, you're a quilter. Okay, so I'm gonna be a quilt influencer. So she posts every day, and she went from like 900 followers to 10,000 in 3 months. She's not
Okay.
selling anything. She's just like, I love
Yeah,
quilts. Do you
yeah,
love quilts? You want to love quilts with me? And so people, yeah. So I think, again, the way I say it is like, I'm not doing it either. So you can either fail with me or you can be better than me. But
yeah,
it's
yeah,
gonna, it's not gonna, nothing's gonna happen unless you post.
yeah. I just have had this fear of like I think it's super annoying when people post about things that they don't know what they're talking about. Wasting time is like one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't like watching anything that wastes my time, and I don't like having those conversations. Is that something I just need to get over, or
Yep.
is,
Yep.
like,
You're not making content for you.
okay, well, that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, you're throwing all these
Yeah.
roadblocks in
I
there. I
just
mean, what
want
are
to
you
make
gonna, what,
content that's true and like build credibility. I don't want to just make content of this is what I'm thinking about today and here's what I'm
if you
thinking
have
about
good
tomorrow.
intentions, if you have good intentions, then it'll work. Yeah. You're definitely overthinking it. I mean, okay, let me ask you a different question then. Like, what would have to happen for you to post content every single day?
In an ideal world, I would like
No, no, no,
to,
no, 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 no. In this world.
but the ideal is so much more fun.
Yeah, but the ideal
Um,
doesn't get
Also,
done. You don't live in an ideal world. You live
yeah,
in a
yeah, that's fair.
yeah.
Um, I would love to have be on site every day showing something.
Yep.
And
Yep.
but right now I have two projects that are going that will probably take the entire year. And maybe that just means I need to up my projects, but to talk about those, so I have one example. It's a school conversion in Boston. I live in Portland, it's in Boston. School transversion. It's going to be part senior living, part affordable housing, part community center. And I have some friends who play on the Celtics who are going to be funding it. So I'm the capital raiser there.
Dude,
And so
this is good.
so then I like, oh, and now we're in this part of trying to get the city to stop being dumbasses and move it forward. And now we're on this part of, you know what I mean? And so it just seems like it's not sexy information to be putting out. And nor does it seem like there's enough movement because it does take a whole year to move it forward. So yeah.
I hear and agree with all of that. And but there's no other way. You're not gonna get better at posting unless you post. You're not gonna get an audience unless you post. If you only post a few days a year that you're in Boston, it's not gonna work.
Hmm.
So I hear you. I agree with you. If you're not at the property, if you're not at the project, it's harder. I agree. Also, you don't have a choice. Well, you do have a choice. You can not do it. But if you want
Sure.
to do it, you have to go post something. So you have to figure it out. And you'll get better as you post. What do they say? I read this quote. Somebody said the reward for consistency is improvement.
Mm. Yeah. Which that makes sense. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it just
Um,
sucks. I'm guilty. I'm not giving you advice that I look at Brandon. I'm like, dude, the guy posts tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of content, and I don't like a lot of it.
Mm,
But it's not about liking everything that he says. It's like, oh, that one was good. There's lots of influencers
sure, sure.
and creators that I'm like, yeah, I mean, not everything that anybody says is like always gold. And the ones that are like always gold, I'm like, they rise to the top. But I,
Yeah.
again, are you trying to be the biggest influencer of all time? Maybe not. So like, can you get 1,000 people to like you? Let me tell you something. I'll get this. Maybe this is a little cynical, which I don't like doing, but maybe it's also helpful. It's like people have low standards, right? You're like, I don't want to watch anything that wastes my time. I'm like, have you heard of the internet? That's the whole thing. It's just, it's called doom
Mm,
scrolling. We have a name for it. It's a big waste of time. So people
yeah.
will watch you, they'll like you, they'll believe in your mission if you tell them what it is, and they'll give you a lot of grace. They'll watch your lousy content
Yeah.
because they know that sometimes you put out really good content, but
Yeah.
you gotta put something every day to get the. It's like sports.
Yeah.
Like you don't just show up to the games. You go to a ton of practice.
Yeah.
You win
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
practice. You win some. How many times do they talk about like, they do practice matches and they lose, 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 and then they go to the championship and they win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I'm with you. I'm in the exact same boat. I'm like,
Mm.
I know I need to post, and yet I don't. What am I going to talk about? Who cares? I'm just,
Well, it
it's
seems
just me
like you
being.
do really well. You post all the time.
Do I?
My husband is like, how do I squat that much? He's,
Oh yeah. Well, I go to the gym. You know what? That's a good example, right? Last night I went to the gym and I squatted like a very low for me weight.
okay.
Not that impressive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, in a few weeks when I'm like in my zone, because that's what happens, right? Life.
Mm.
I'll post. I'm like, yo, 400 pounds in the bar. What's up? And then people are like, yo, that's crazy. And I'm like, right, but you didn't want to see it when it was less, but it's less.
When it was less. Yeah. Yeah.
So you just got to do. You got to do a little bit of both.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, watch this space because it'll be moving soon.
Dude, I watched my fiance like in 3 months, and all she did was post, and most of her content I do not care about. The majority of it I
Mm.
don't care about. But about every 6, 7 posts, I see something I'm like, that's cool, right? Now, but I'm not a quilt person, so like her audience doesn't speak to me.
Yeah.
But dude, she gets 100, 200 comments every day on her stuff, and her
Wow.
messages are filled. And all she does is she posts
Wow.
these little reels about freaking quilting. I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
But she
I
posts every
had
day.
no
She's like,
idea it
F it.
was such a
Right. You didn't even
big,
know it existed. And so that's my point. I'm like,
big thing.
that's my point. I'm like, dude, it's just, look, you're like me. You're like a lot of people. I had a conversation with a guy yesterday. You're in your head. I respect it. I agree with it. It's hard. But like, if the only thing that I can maybe say is like change you're like, well, it's not the way I want it and I'm not there and all these other things. And it's like, no, it's just scary.
Well, that's a good slap in the
It's just
face.
scary, which is fine if you're like, hey, it's uncomfortable and awkward. Talking to a camera is
Yeah.
awkward. It's awkward.
Mm.
So like, in fact, I have this whole theory that the people that are good at it are like mostly sociopaths that don't like. I'm like, why are you good at talking to it? You're not talking to a human being and you don't notice it. You're the weird one. The people who can talk to
Yeah.
cameras like without being awkward, that's the weird part. So like, you and I are normal,
Yeah.
so it's hard, and I
Yeah.
respect that. Also, the only way you're gonna get to go where you want to go is by doing the awkward, hard, weird thing.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm not afraid of that. I just need to be told that that's what it is that I'm facing and
That's
not
all.
anything
Yeah, it
else.
would be better if you were there, but it'd be even better if you talked to people every single day and got them and like they were following you, and then when you went there, then you can like leverage a spike.
Sure. Sure. All right. I feel like your answer is going to be the same for this question, but when it comes to networking within this space, I feel like just since I've run organizations and I receive a plethora of requests from like how things work and I have a team who can fulfill those, but honestly it just doesn't seem like a good use of my time. This is in the humanitarian space. But now I'm on the flip side and karma's real. And so I have again this hesitation of wasting people's time or like I don't want to show up to a meeting if I can't bring value to it because I know what it's like on the other side. And like I think it's Pace who says don't be an asshole. Like don't just constantly ask. So how do you balance this? Am I just overthinking it just because of my previous experience? Yeah, what are
Um,
your thoughts on it?
I'll tell you my perspective. I don't know if this one's a little bit different because it is personalities and people are
Sure.
different and varied. I have a a long-standing philosophy that it is up to everybody as an individual to protect their time. I'm not here to protect your
Mm,
time. I'm here to take your time. And I don't feel guilty
mm-hmm.
about that because not to say that let's just start. That's the foundation. I'm not saying that's the only thing, but if I'm like, hey, I want to get in Pace the Morby circle, it is his job to protect himself from me. It is my job to get the information out of him.
Mm,
It is not my job to make sure that I protect him from me.
sure.
Now, there's boundaries there because if there's a dynamic, there's an ongoing, ever changing dynamic. Because, yeah, you're right. If I'm always like, ask and I'm
Mm-hmm.
annoying and I'm not giving anything and I'm just a time suck, that relationship degrades.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start by saying it's your responsibility to probably say this on every call. Life is what you take,
Mm-hmm.
right? The people that you need to talk to, they're not sitting around going like, how can we make Jen's life better? So you
Yeah.
have to go invade their space to get it. Now, how do
Yeah.
you do that in a way where they walk away and feel a positive benefit from the relationship, and that way it's not like an extraction? That's what you're saying. I want to be able to get their time, but I
Yeah.
don't want to feel like it's a negative. So one, the easiest way is be fun to be around. So
Mm.
if you go out for
Well,
drinks
that
with a
comes
friend,
naturally.
right? That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I mean. That's what I mean. You seem fun. You obviously, want to do the right thing. You don't seem like there's a lot of weirdos out there. You don't seem like a weirdo. You've obviously done some stuff. So like what nobody wants to do is give a lot of time to somebody who is socially uncomfortable, can't really dialogue,
Mhm.
doesn't have and hasn't done anything. And then, you give them your time and then you see them again in a few weeks and they still haven't done anything and they want more time. That's when things degrade really quickly. So
Sure.
you're an investment. You're like, hey, I want to get your time. Their time is an investment in you. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to be a good investment. Are you going to take the things that they tell you and actually do something with it? Because then they'll give you more. Everybody wants to help, but they want to make sure that their time is being, used wisely. If I can invest in you or I can invest in Alex, who's the better use of my time?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't ever think about it like, hey, don't only just, never just ask. Like sometimes you're in a position where you have to ask. But then the question is, what'd you do with the time? Did you use it wisely?
Yeah.
Hey, you told me to read a book. That's the easiest one. Like ask people for book
Mm-hmm.
recommendations, and when they give you a book, read it and then send them like what you learned. Easiest way for them to know that you did the thing that they advised you to do. Then they're like, what if I give them better advice? Would they go do more? So then
Yeah.
you become a good investment. I know I'm kind of rambling here.
No, well, that's good just as a leader, like for my company. So it's, you know, I think that's good advice all around.
Yeah. And then the second one is like, I think about people. If I ask somebody for coffee or their time, even if I just took, let's say, even if I just took, I would go and be fun. I would go and be charming. I would go there and say, well, think about it like drinks with the girls on a Friday night. What did
Mm-hmm.
you give them? What did you give them? Like, what are you getting out of this? Or rather, what am I getting?
Enjoyment. Well, that's education, but I understand like enjoyment, the enjoyment
Yeah,
side of
well,
it with,
dude,
right?
at
Yeah.
the end of the day, and maybe this is my like, I'm people obsessed, so maybe this is my naivety, but I'm like, if you have an interesting conversation and an engaging and an uplifting conversation with somebody, it's like, what more could you want out of somebody? That's the best thing you
Mm-hmm.
can have. Is like I spent a wonderful coffee. I had a 30-minute coffee date and it went to an hour because I just couldn't get enough of this person, and I get to help them. What more
Yeah.
could you want? So I think that's my approach towards it. There's a couple of my little philosophies in there. Don't worry about protecting their time. That's their job. You're an investment. Show them that you're a good investment. And then, yeah, I mean, don't devalue yourself. It sounds like you've done a lot. And it sounds like you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do the right thing. So asking somebody to help you do the right thing, don't feel so, don't be so, like, don't be ashamed of that?
Yeah. 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 No,
Also,
I think
last
like,
thing I'll say, so sorry. Last thing I'll say is um, there's 8 billion people on the planet. If like one person you get like, oh, that relationship that didn't really work out, it's like go get the next one. So don't worry about like
Mhm.
if it doesn't all go perfect. You're not like don't be such a I wouldn't I'm not a people pleaser. I find there's a lot of people in the world that are people pleasers. So I'm always like you can piss a lot of people off and be okay. Not to say you want to go burn bridges, but like if you piss somebody off and that you annoy them while trying to do the right thing,
Mhm.
don't dwell on it. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I think like honestly, and it's a huge humbling thing for me to really grow in my W-2 career, climb the ladder really fast. And I had some really prominent positions and like what I think really cool stuff, especially in that space. And so in the humanitarian space, like people come to me. And now, this is said very humbly, and now I'm on the totally flip side where I'm learning things that I'm like, I am not the expert in this at all. And they are just, there's so many people who know better, like much more than I am. And just starting over, I guess, is very, very humbling. And so I think like that has almost, my pride, if I'm going to be honest, has almost prevented me in kind of taking risks that I just because
Yeah.
of that, like I was somebody here and now I'm a nobody in this space. So anyways, that's just a
Um,
personal thing I'm working through.
no, that's good. Hey, I respect you sharing that. That's vulnerable. That's honest. That's hard. I respect that. I appreciate you sharing. I know that's not easy and probably feels good to say out loud. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a good answer. Like, I do these calls. These are like, I don't know what these are. I've been doing them for years. I'm like naturally built
Mhm.
for whatever this is. It's like, who am I though? It's the same boat. You call
Mm,
me like, hey, Alex, I have these questions. I'm like, I don't know anything about humanitarian space. I'm not a really great business leader. Um,
mm,
I don't really know how to define why well, here's the best way I could define it is I really genuinely want to help people in whatever way I can.
mm,
And I'm good at not crossing boundaries that I'm not good at. So I'm like, hey,
mm.
I can't really help you with social media. Or I'm not a good example, but I know here's what I think is useful. Take it or leave it. And
Yeah.
so with you, I feel about the same way where you're like, okay, I'm not really an expert in this space. It's like, okay, that doesn't mean you don't want to do good. So as long as
Hmm.
you want to do good and you have that humility where you're like, you know the boundaries of what you know versus what you think you know,
Hmm.
and what you don't want to do is give people advice that's wrong
Yeah.
confidently.
Yeah.
As long as
Yeah.
you don't cross that barrier and you're like, look, I don't know what the heck to help you, but here's what I think, and if you can take that and do something useful with it, go for it. And if it's not useful, don't use it. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
asked, so if you can kind of, that's how I do it. Like when people come to me with these calls, I had this, you asked me questions that I'm not certainly not an expert to answer. And then the guy
Mhm.
before called me and he's like, "Hey, I'm weirdest question I've ever got." He's like, my wife and I." He's like, "I'm conflict avoidant. I don't want to fight, so I just avoid
Hmm.
this stuff, and it's only with my wife that's the problem, and I need to fix that." And I'm like, "Why am I qualified to help you? I have no
Yeah.
idea." But
Yeah.
I know that I genuinely want to be useful to somebody. So I'm like, look,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not a therapist. I have no degrees. I'm good at conflict. Tell you that.
Mm.
I'm good at conflict. So like, let me give you something to think about at least. And so I mean well.
Yeah.
And he knows that I'm not
Yeah.
like a qualified doctor. So I think about that the same way with you. If somebody comes to you, obviously they think you might know something that can help. And I've only known you for 25 minutes, but
Mm.
it seems like you're somebody who wants to do right by people and help.
Hmm.
And so like don't
Yeah.
make it you don't have to be the world's best expert at something to be like, "Hey, maybe this is useful." And that's
Make a
and
difference
that's
in space. Yeah.
and that's plenty. And you can feel
Yeah.
confident about that instead of dwelling. You can be like, "Hey, a
Yeah.
person asked me for help and I tried." Like, what how else do you want to serve the world?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I want to serve the world in a lot of big ways, but we have
I
three
know you
minutes
do.
left, and I want to know what the scariest dream you have is. What's a dream that you're like scared of, or a goal that makes you nervous? Because it doesn't seem like you get scared that often, so I I want to know.
Yeah, I don't operate in the scariest thing to me is not reaching my potential
Mm,
because I feel like I have huge potential and I feel like I'm doing almost nothing with it.
mm,
So the scariest thing to me is like, Alex, I just turned 40. It's like you're not doing the impact that you were meant to do. So like you better get your stuff together because the game is over
mm,
before you freaking know it.
yeah.
So that's the
Mm,
scariest thing for me. And unfortunately, I don't really have a great answer on. I don't know, but I wake up and I try every day, and I try to,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's the scariest thing for me.
That's fair. I get that, and I think yeah, I definitely have those days too where I know what potential is, and then life happens and things just go at a much different pace. But but you made an impact on me today, so you can check it off for your daily
Dude, it feels
I used
it
your
feels me.
potential.
It fills me, dude. It really does. Yeah, it's an interesting life is an interesting journey. You know, everybody's doing podcasts, and I was like, I want to do a podcast. I love talking to people, and I tried to do a bunch of podcasts, and I found that I hate them because they're so structured, and I
Yeah.
don't want to interview you. I'm so sorry. I don't want to interview you.
Yeah.
That's not what I am supposed to do. But so what I do is I just put these links up there, and I have started publishing these, but nobody watches them. But it's not really the point. The point is something about just coming up with a stranger, and I think it's like I think it makes people like more open because there's no
Mm.
format, there's no production, there's no like preparation. It's just like, dude, whatever you want to talk about, I don't care. There's no. That's why I also know that it'll never be like super useful content because it's like all over the place. But it's
Hmm.
like I call it strangers because I think we live in a world where everybody's sort of guarded
Mm.
and weird about like, hey, the internet's and people are isolated, and so it's like you can talk to somebody. It's like a therapist. It's like
Yeah.
it's like public therapy. Oh, that's what I should call it instead. Public therapy.
Yeah.
And it's like, we
Public
don't have to have any
therapy.
agenda, and then I don't know anybody so
Mm.
you can be like, a little vulnerable. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it fills me up. So I'm glad that I could be useful. It really does
Yeah.
make me happy.
No, I really appreciate you for making the time.
Yeah. Um, what else? How can I help you? Are you going to Denver?
I am not going to Denver. I know. I have missed now. I missed the one in October as well just because of trips. So
Wow.
I need to, yeah, I need to plan better for this next October. I don't have anything set, so I'm waiting for the fall dates to be launched because I have not made any work trips.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a power
Do you
networker.
secretly know the dates for the
For what?
fall? Isn't there one in the fall as well? Oh, okay. Yeah.
There'll be one in like December.
Oh, okay. Then I will save for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
networking is something it's so interesting because I do a lot of fundraising. I generally just for my organization need to, raise about 50 million a year. And so I in private donation. And so I'm good at doing
Bro, you need to tell the world what you do more.
but that's different. I mean, that's it's very easy for me to to talk about like, I've lived in Syria. I've lived in three genocides and four wars. Like I can talk about my actual experience and
For
so for me
20
it's just selling vision.
for 28 minutes I really liked you and now I'm not so sure.
Oh no, I ruined it. But so I know that I like talking to people, but I think I have a whole development team that like sets up the meal and then I just close. I'm a closer, and so it's the initial conversation that I'm working on
Do you go
being
to
better at.
therapy?
I do go to therapy regularly.
You
Yeah.
ever done psychedelics?
No, I live in Portland, which is shocking that those two haven't combined. But yeah,
I want Jen to get out of her head because you have a very interesting story, a powerful story, an interesting life, a lot to share, and you're going to keep it all to yourself. Because if I'm not saying I'm any better, but I hear that and I'm
mm.
like, that's so powerful and so useful, and you're going to keep it to yourself, and you're going to do yourself and everybody else a disservice for no reason.
What part of it specifically?
I went overseas in 2000, not for humanitarian aid. We went and invaded an
Mm.
innocent country.
Mm-hmm.
It's I talk about it a lot, but it's not something I'm proud of it in one way and really upset about it in another way. But
Mm-hmm.
you went to a lot of places and did nothing but good.
Mm.
And it, by the sounds of it, at least, I don't know, but it sounds like you're not telling enough people
Mm.
and you're still trying to do good. So like,
Yeah.
and it sounds like you're doing things that are raise $50 million. I'm like, dude, there's people that are trying to raise $100,000 that
Mm-hmm.
you could help because the principles for raising money are the same. Actually, yours is harder. Raising money for an investment is easier than raising money for charity.
Mm.
So you have skills, you have experience. You have a compelling experience, like a compelling story. You have useful experience. You have very good intentions, like, and you could scale. You could help people at scale if you would just sort of tell those things onto the internet
Mm.
in some form that you like, whether it's long form YouTube and you just talk, short form Instagram,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But like, yeah,
Yeah. Well, thanks for that encouragement. And it would, if you ever do want to share your story, I would be interested. I've spent significant time in Iraq and Fallujah and Mosul and so if you ever do, I know it's a very different experience and it's personal to you, but that is available. Well,
I
thank
already
you
got a
so
boogie.
much for your time. That was what?
I said I already got a boogie.
Yep. Nope. I'm same. But thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank
And
you. You're great. I look forward to learning more about you.
yeah, same. All right. Have a good day.
All right, don't leave. Hang tight.